Hello and welcome back to the Wasteland, everybody. Welcome back to Fallout New Vegas, where today we're going to be taking a look at the HoloRifle. This is by far one of the most requested weapons that we've had for this list, and I can understand why the HoloRifle is a really cool weapon. I was debating whether to put the HoloRifle and the grenade launcher in the same list, or at least in the same video, but they're both very different weapons, even though they use the same model. The HoloRifle is modeled after the grenade launcher, although it does have a slightly different reload animation because you see your person loading in microfusion cells, and it obviously looks different because of like the scope and the extra attachments that Elijah has already put on this. The HoloRifle is going to be your first weapon that you get in Dead Money because it is the weapon that Elijah gives you, and it is a very strong weapon, especially if you're going with an energy weapons build, because it has really good stats all across the board, and it can disintegrate the various ghost people, which is very useful. There is only one HoloRifle in the entire game, and that is from Dead Money. That is the only way that you can get this, is by going there and, well, just starting up the quest, you're going to get it. So this weapon's already pretty unique. Let's talk about the base stats of it and go over some pros and cons. For the base stats, the HoloRifle requires 50 energy weapons and 4 strength to wield, which isn't a whole lot. You can technically run to Dead Money at any point during the game, so as soon as you leave Goodsprings, you could actually go right there and start it up, and you may not be able to hit these requirements. You still potentially could if you're going with an energy weapon build, because you can actually still have a decent amount of like perception and tag energy weapons and at least be able to do it. 4 strength isn't that difficult to get either. I feel like most characters are going to run that. This one does 80 damage per shot. However, it also does an additional 15 damage over 3 seconds. So this will tick 3 times, dealing even more damage. This one does 89 damage per second plus those 15 damage hits every second, so its damage per second can actually be higher than this. It's kind of weird to calculate DPS for a weapon that deals damage over time. This has 80 crit damage on it, which is very high. That's a really high amount of crit damage. It already has really high regular damage, so if you hit crits, that's even better. This does only have a 1x crit modifier, so nothing crazy there, just standard crits. This costs 30 action points to fire, which is actually not that bad for a weapon like this, where it's more of like an energy weapon sniper rifle. 30 action points is still okay for that type of weapon. This one has 0.4 spread, so it's pretty accurate, although the spread doesn't tell you the whole picture because the projectile is larger than normal projectiles. Think of it similar to like the plasma shot, where the plasma shot definitely has a bigger hitbox than something like the lasers do. So spread is really good, and it's pretty accurate most of the time. This one holds 4 rounds in it by default, same as a regular grenade launcher, and it does kind of have the same reload speed as a grenade launcher, so it's still fairly slow. You have to load these in one at a time, but you can cancel that whenever you would like, so that's kind of nice. This weighs 8 weight, so a little bit on the heftier side, but not too unwieldy. And this one has 100 item HP, meaning that it can break sort of quick, similar to like the hunting rifle that we talked about not too long ago. You're probably not going to be shooting this a whole lot because you won't need to. It fills the same type of role. It's your sniper energy weapon, and the item health doesn't matter too much, with the exception that the HoloRifle cannot be fixed by any other means other than weapon repair kits. Because even if you have a perk like jury rigging, there's nothing that fixes up the HoloRifle. So weapon repair kits are your only way to make it. That being said, though, you can make an infinite amount of weapon repair kits throughout the game. You just need the resources, and I believe 50 repair to actually make those on a workbench. So be on the lookout for scrap metal, scrap electronics, duct tape, and wrenches. That way you can keep this thing fixed up. Or you don't even need to with the modded version. We'll talk about that in just one second. Let's go over the pros and cons to this weapon. For general pros, this one has really high damage per shot. That is very, very nice about it. It is kind of one of the few energy snipers, so it has very long range. This has a great ammo type because it uses microfusion cells, so you can have some really strong builds for that. And what I alluded to with the modded version is that this thing is unbreakable with the modded version, at least if you're playing the vanilla game, because it is bugged and actually makes it so your weapon is unbreakable once you attach one of its mods. For the general cons of this weapon, though, it does have a slow reload. Reload's not very quick. Even with like rapid reload, it's still kind of slow since you have to reload each round one at a time. You only get 4 shots. So you're going to have to be reloading this thing fairly often, and you still have the pump animation before you can actually shoot, and it has kind of a slow rate of fire, so follow-up shots aren't super quick, and if enemies are getting close, this one can still work, but it's still going to be kind of awkward, similar to something like the hunting rifle, where at close range it just doesn't work as well as a faster weapon would. Now let's talk about ammo for this weapon, where you have 5 different options for ammo. You have the standard microfusion cells, which give you the standard amount of damage. However, microfusion cells by default already ignore 2 armor, or 2 damage threshold, so that is really nice. You actually already have kind of armor piercing on your base rounds. You also have bulk ammunition. Bulk ammunition you do buy in bulk from various merchants, and this one makes it so you do a little bit less damage. You do 15% less damage per shot. You also don't have your damage threshold break anymore, so it's just the standard, and this does break your weapon slightly slower, so your weapon lasts 15% longer, which can actually be really good on certain energy weapons. The HoloRifle doesn't necessarily need it, because again, you're probably not going to be using it super often, so I wouldn't really say loading the bulk cells into this would make a whole lot of difference overall compared to just regular ammo or some of the other options. Then we have optimized cells. Optimized cells you can make on workbenches so long as you have the Vigilant Recycler perk. And this one makes it so you do 30% more damage per shot. You have -5 damage threshold, so you punch through even more armor, but it does break your weapon 10% faster. These ones are really, really good and definitely a reason to take Vigilant Recycler because it's just a super nice ammo type that has almost no downsides to it. Slightly breaking your weapon a little bit quicker doesn't really matter a lot of the time. Overcharged cells give you 25% more damage. They also punch through 5 armor, but they break your weapon 50% faster, so that does make a little bit more of a difference. And if you have optimized cells, you might as well use those over the overcharged cells because they're just stronger. And then you also have the max cells, which give you 50% more damage, give you -10 damage threshold towards enemies, but they do break your gun 250% faster, which could be an issue and kind of is with certain energy weapons. The HoloRifle is not one of them once you have the modded version of it though, because it is unbreakable. So this has no downside to it whatsoever. It would just be 50% more damage and -10 damage threshold. So you get armor piercing rounds almost mixed with hollow point rounds too. That is really, really good for this weapon. For an overall rating for the standard HoloRifle, I would probably put it up into A tier. It's a very solid weapon that works really well as an energy weapon sniper. May get outcompeted by the Gauss rifle, but honestly at that point it's kind of personal preference where their damages are going to be fairly similar to one another. And just depends on what you like. The HoloRifle is a lot more ammo efficient than the Gauss rifle too, so that kind of helps it. And I guess the scope is also a night vision scope, so if you like that, you can count that as a pro too. We do have to talk about the modded version of the HoloRifle though too, and the modded version gets 3 different mods. You do have to get these while you're in Dead Money, and you can only get them while you're in Dead Money because once you complete that DLC, you can't go back anywhere else. You are just done, and certain sections actually get cut off throughout the quests anyway, so you do have to make sure that you get these when you have them, when they're available to you. Otherwise you'll miss out on them and you can never get them again. If you do get these, then you just have to find one of the kiosks, the vendors there, and then you'll have to buy these for the amount of tokens that they require. For upgrades, you can get a focus optic. This gives you plus 25 more base damage, which is a huge bonus in damage, so you go from 80 base damage up to 105 base damage, plus the 15 damage over time with the 3-second timer on it, so you get even more damage there, and that actually makes it really comparable to something like the Gauss rifle. You can get the advanced calibration, which reduces your spread even further, so you go from 0.4 spread to 0.15 spread, making it one of the most accurate energy weapons and just a really accurate weapon in general, which is really awesome for something like an energy weapon sniper like this. And then the big one is the reinforced components. This one is supposed to give your weapon 50% more health overall, but it is bugged, at least in the vanilla game, and it actually makes it so your weapon becomes unbreakable. So you can still fix up your weapon up to 100%, but it won't ever drop from there, making it really, really strong, especially since then you can put max cells in this. And like we said, that's just 50% more damage and -10 armor to anything that you're fighting. That is really, really strong against basically everything. And the modded version of the HoloRifle, I would actually put up in S tier. The fact that it's unbreakable definitely carries it up to there. If it didn't have that and it was back to the normal amount of health, you could still argue it up into S tier, because it is, I would say, just on par with the Gauss rifle, and the Gauss rifle is really, really strong too. It's totally just personal preference at that point as to which one you enjoy more, which one you like the looks of more. The HoloRifle is super unique. And if you could get past the part where even if the health didn't matter and you just had to use weapon repair kits, I could still see it being argued up into an S tier weapon because it is really, really nice. Tell me your thoughts on the Gauss rifle down in the comments below. How do you enjoy this weapon? How do you like to build it? Do you like the modded version? Should it not be broken, at least with the bugs there? Or should it just kind of keep that? I would really like to hear your comments. Tell me what weapon you would like to see next. There has been quite a few requests, so we're just kind of going down the line of them. And thank you guys so very much for checking out the series. I really have been enjoying making it. And yeah, appreciate you guys a bunch. Take care and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye, everybody.